The ideas expressed in the following presentations are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of ACI or its committees. ACI web sessions are recorded at ACI Conventions or other concrete industry events and will be made available for viewing free of charge for 1 week. Thereafter, they will be archived on the ACI website or added to ACI's online CEU program, depending on their content. You can earn continuing education credits through ACI's online CEU program. Visit www.concrete.org to register. ACI Conventions provide an opportunity for networking and for keeping up to date with the latest in concrete technology and practices.
Okay, our next speaker is Patrick Doc Watson from BASF, and he's going to speak about Spall repair by low-pressure spraying.
Spall repair by low-pressure spraying. First question is why? There's so many ways to repair concrete. Why low pressure? What is it? Where do I want to use it? So we'll start out with this simple slide. You notice a couple of things that I'm going to emphasize to you. See how close that nozzle is to where he's spraying? Unlike what we think of for high-velocity shotcrete. Notice there is no rebound. There's nothing on the floor. This repair is being done in a food production facility. Why do I use it? For the same reason you do all the other repairs and all the other presenters are going to tell you about. So knowing everyone in here can read and write, I'm not going to take the time to read the slide to you. If you don't get it in time, let me know. I'll slow it down. But there are special formulas for this type of work. You do need typically some proprietary materials. There are a number of them out there that differ depending on what needs you may have. Where are you using it? Vertical and overhead are the typical places. Often when reinforcing steel is very congested and you couldn't get at it any other way, you want to be able to get close with your nozzle. For example, overhead where there are electrical races and a lot of things in place, you can get at them here. 1/2 inch to 4 inches in a single pass with most of these materials. And as I said, some of them are special properties. Surface preparation, corrected this slide once and I still don't have it right. Those are the wrong references for ICRI. You want to look to the 310.2 and 1 and 2. Would be the primary ones. Same as all the other folks. Is it contaminated? Is there reinforcing to deal with? What else are you going to need to know in surface preparation? So simple reviews. Assess the condition. This is something that should be part of every repair, right? A condition assessment. What kind of damage is it? Is it physical, chemical, environmental? And how bad is it? What do I need to do? How am I going to do it? Those are decisions that are good to make before the job starts. Sometimes the best method to get the job done is not the best method for the owner's needs. If you're doing this kind of work, particularly with big owners or conscientious owners, it's really good to be on the same page. And if you're going to be using a destructive method, and you are, it's really good that everybody understand what you're doing. What are their requirements? When can you get in there? And what equipment am I going to need? Well, here it starts to get a little different than typical repairs. Got to pick some material out, right? And then you're going to have all the equipment that you might need on the job site. ICRI has some documents on equipment selection. Well, one of the things we don't always say is when you're picking materials out, trying to decide what you need, it's really nice to have a qualified consulting engineer involved. Because no matter what material you're going to use, it'll never be perfect. Nobody makes materials that meet every need. So the key that comes out of these documents is you're looking at an informed compromise. You're going to have to give up a little somewhere to get easy hang overhead. Or maybe the working time isn't perfect, but look to it to be an informed compromise. What do I want on that job? What do I need to do this really neat method that is unique for a lot of reasons? We need a suitable pump. The nice part is these pumps are small enough to go right down the aisles in most structures. You need the appropriate nozzle. You need all the things that are written right here. And typical of most repair sites and jobs, there are always a few other things that you want on hand. And there'll be the one that you don't have, no matter how big the list is. What kind of pumps do you need? You can't use an ordinary grout pump. These are heavier duty machines, sometimes called heavy media pumps. And there are a number of companies that make them for this type of work. How does it work? Much like wet mix shotcrete. The mortar is pre-mixed. It's already fluid. And it's not really fluid, but at least it's plastic. And it's being propelled through the hose by the pump, and air is added at the nozzle. The key is this is very heavy, and it's a slightly different nozzle. What do I have to worry about for safety? The list would be endless if I put it all in here. And every job's different. It's good to have that checklist and make sure that you're going to have all the safety equipment you need and some common sense. How do I do it? These are the normal steps. They're all in the document. And then when I'm all done, how do I know what I've got? Well, it's really good to have before and after pictures. That's really nice when you're negotiating with the owner afterwards and he's not sure that he's happy. Remind him of what he had when he started. There are ways of testing the surface preparation for its tensile strength. And then once you've done the repair, you can also test the bond between the new repair material and the prepared substrate so that everybody knows what you have. It's also good to make sure that all of the materials that were specified get cross-checked as to was it the right material, was it used right, and was it the right amount. So when it's all done, you've achieved your goal using the low-pressure spray method. As you can see, it's a famous statement there that you can do anything you set your mind to when you have vision, determination, and an endless supply of expendable labor. And I realize that was very brief, but the point of the documents is to be graphic, easy to understand, and used in ways that our typical ACI documents don't get used. My favorite comments have been professors giving them to students. My favorite use myself has been when I'm dealing with a contractor and an engineer and an owner, and we're discussing a method like low-pressure spray that they're not always familiar with. This document becomes a true education device, and it gets us all to know what's being discussed. If you've ever tried to discuss or describe something simple, the simpler it is, the harder it is to describe. Because this is really a pretty simple method. An example, have you ever tried to discuss how to walk? First, get your balance, right? Stand up, get your balance. Now, lean forward, but don't fall over. Lean forward enough. Now your brain tells your leg to move, your leg tells your ankle to move. You could spend 2 or 3 hours discussing or describing how to walk. This document makes it easier describing how to use low-pressure spray applied repair materials. And on that, do you have any questions? Yes?
What are the drawbacks to low-pressure spray applied? When would you not use that for shotcrete?
It is more expensive than ordinary shotcrete because the materials are proprietary. That's the first and major drawback. Otherwise, there's darn few. You don't even need a certified nozzleman. And I have intentionally gone out on jobs and done this wearing a white shirt and tie and left clean. So there's very little drawback. It's a little expensive. Not everybody has the equipment. But the equipment's relatively inexpensive.
Would limitations pertain to size?
No, not really. Not really. We've done entire dams now and the undersides. There are cases where it would be nice, but it's not as practical as shotcrete would be, particularly if you're doing dental type work, because these materials set fairly fast. And if you want to be going from a cavity here and a cavity over there and a cavity over there, and you can use shotcrete, it would be preferable because you don't have that pump and hopper full of this relatively heavy media. This is like zero slump, even though it's wet mix.
Thank you very much.
Now you got to fix the computer, huh?
That's okay. Yes, I'll do that too.